Hey, what is up, guys? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another video. We're going to be exploring a One Piece deck that is based on one of my favorite characters in this series. Probably, yeah, one of my three or four favorite characters in the series. I never liked One Piece that much, but I did like this character. He was hilarious, and it is actually Marshall D. Teach. That's right, we're going to be doing a deck profile on the infamous Blackbeard Pirates deck. So I hope you guys stick around for this video, because we're going to be going over my card choices, and it's going to be very interesting. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. So before we begin with the video, I just want to say thank you again for watching my previous videos if you have. If not, I encourage you guys to watch the previous videos, as I have been on a roll with talking about various topics, whether it be essential skills for getting better at TCGs, deck profiles in Pokemon, and Vice Shorts, that I wanted to kind of showcase all the decks that I have in my arsenal for all the card games that I play. After all, once again, this is a trading card game channel, so I just want to remind you guys to please check out my previous videos. So back to the topic at hand, we are going to be talking about the Blackbeard Pirates deck. But before we even go into the list, I wanted to talk about the leader itself, the Marshall D. Teach leader. So this is one of the reasons why this deck is really strong. It has an ability where your on-play effects are negated, and then activate main. You may trash a card from your hand and just basically discard it, and then your opponent's on-play abilities are negated until the end of your opponent's next turn. So you discard it at the end of your turn, and during your opponent's next turn, aka the following turn, their on-play abilities are negated. So they essentially are forced. This is basically a skill drain that you can turn on and off on your opponent depending on the situation. And because of this ability, it's not only does this make Blackbeard one of the most hated decks, like people really want to target this deck down whenever they see it, but it's actually one of the hardest decks to play, because this deck requires you to understand your matchups. Heck, I built it because I like Blackbeard, but even when I play it, it requires me to study up the matchups very carefully. And I as a One Piece player may not be the highest competitive, but my knowledge in the game is still, like, I will say this, it is still a work in progress, since I came into the game rather late. But it is an important skill that you need when piloting this deck, is knowing the competitive matchups. And this deck is a good, like if you really want to get really good at the game, this is like the level of where the master throws you off the cliff and you have to climb your way back up kind of model. Like, if you really want to grind the game hard mode, Blackbeard is that deck for you. So without further ado, we're going to go on to the deck profile, starting off with the cost ones. So we play 4. Again, this Mike really likes to just jump up, but it's hilarious. So again, for the deck, we play 4 copies of the Lefit. So this is your main searcher of the deck. You essentially play this for the pay 1, tap self, top 5 check, add a Blackbeard pirate character from the deck. So this deck is 100% Blackbeard pirate. Actually, not 100. About majority, like over 90% of the deck is Blackbeard Pirates, so you're never gonna miss it. On that fringe chance you are, it's very low, because I think there's only 6 cards in the deck that are non-Blackbeard Pirate traded. So Lefit is just your main search engine, and your goal is to protect this early game, so that way you gain card advantage. And most of the time you're not going to proc the leader effect, because your hand is so important as a resource. And since in order to deny your opponent advantage, you're essentially like nagging yourself every turn. The Lefit helps you kind of make those nags into 1/1, so you play it as a 4 of. Next, I play 4 copies of the Stronger. This is just here as your generic 2K block, and it does have that ability to draw one, like just trash a card from my hand to draw a card, and then give a character -2 cost. But you're mainly using this as the 2K blocker, 2K counter. I mean, your main early game advantage in terms of board wiping is this Doc Q. So what this Doc Q does is you rest this character, and then if your leader's a Blackbeard Pirates, which is the teach, you can knock out any cost 1 or less character, and if this gets knocked out, you draw a card. So your opponent, like it allows you to easily, with the combination of this, not Lefit, the Van Augur, and the Lagoon, you're minusing costs throughout the board, and then you're using Doc Q to knock out whatever is cost 1 or less at the end of the minus cost effects, and you're just essentially just board wiping your opponent, while your main attacker for early game is going to be just the leader and maybe the Jesus Burgess, but you're not focusing on that in most cases. You're just going to be focusing on just board breaking and occasionally attacking your opponent. You're trying to just break their board. That's why with the Blackbeard deck. To assist in the defensive option, we play 2 copies of the Vasco shot blocker. We also play 2 copies of the Shiryu 2K counter. This deck runs very little 2K counters. I think 8 or 9 2K counters, or even 6. I gotta double. The number will reveal itself as we go through the list. It's been a while since I revisited this deck because I've just been busy with Marco, because I wanted to make that deck work before I pivot to Blackbeard. So we play 2 copies of Shiryu. It's your main 2K, one of your 2K counters. And then in the past, this card was a 4 of, but now after OPO 10, this is a 2 of. We're playing 2 Lagoons. This used to be like a $20+ card, and now that you only have to run 2, it went back down, which is kind of sad. But this card is just really good. You tap it and you give one of your opponent's characters -4 cost, which helps when you pair it with the Van Augur, you're just board breaking for days. Not Van Augur, Doc Q. I keep on getting the names mixed up. If you pair it with the Doc Q, you're just board breaking for days. And the reason why we're playing 2 of, because we needed to make room for our 5 costs, Kuzan, which I'll show you in a bit. But our last 4 cost in the deck is the Jesus Burgess. This is your main beat stick in the mid to late, I would say mid game to late game. This is your main beat stick because it has the ability. This card cannot be killed by your KO'd, knocked out by your opponent's card effects. If your leader is a Blackbeard Pirate, which it's Marshall D. Teach, it has the ability for every 4 cards in the discard pile or in your trash, this gains 1K. So you can easily pump this up to 10 to 15K really easy by just discarding, milling through your deck, and having this as your main attacker, since it's gonna be hard for them to counter out, and they can't remove it except by bouncing, bottom decking it, or trashing it, and most of those abilities are on play. So they're usually high cost. So during the turn when you're expecting this to get trashed or addressed by a character, you're gonna discard a card during that turn, during the turn before, to deny your opponent the ability to answer this card. So you're just pretty much protecting this Jesus Burgess while it does its job of swinging high heaven to your opponent's face. Now we're going to talk about the 5-drop Kuzan. So this card is essentially your changer of the deck. If you don't know what changes, it's a mechanic in One Piece where the one card has the ability to swap into another card. So for Kuzan, it has the ability, it cannot be removed by card effects, period. So you can't knock it out. You can't bounce it. You can't bottom deck it. And it stays there. It's in a, essentially an immortal body that the only way to remove it is by attacking it and knocking out. In most of the cases, you're just going to leave it standing because you want it there to be a potential, like when you do attack with it, you will attack with it and then just change out, because its second ability is an activate main, trash this card, draw 1 card, and then play 1 Blackbeard pirate with a 5 cost or less from the trash. So you're basically recycling the Jesus Burgess if they answer it, and it replaces itself. It's just really nice. This card literally makes the deck much more consistent because of that. The ability to trash this to play out this Jesus is just busted. And then our other cost manipulation is the 4 copies of the Van Augur. It has the same same ability as Lagoon, where you tap it and then give a character -3 cost, but it also has the additional ability on KO, draw a card. So when this card gets KO'd, it replaces itself by drawing a card, by allowing you to draw a card, that is. And then lastly, the last character in the deck is the 10 cost Marshall D Teach blocker. So what he does is it's activate main. If your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type and this card was played this turn, negate the effect of one of your opponent's leaders during this turn, then negate the effect of one of your opponent's characters. That character can also not attack next turn. So they can restand it, but it just can't swing into you. So this is your closer of the deck. Your goal is to spam at least 2 or 3 of this while locking your opponent out from killing you. And if you can if you can board at least 2 or 3 of this, you're just gonna swing into it to close the game. That and Jesus Burgess, those are your main closers of the deck. And then now, so with this deck is very event heavy. So one example of that is we're playing 4 copies of My Era Begins. So the main effect is for 1 Dawn. You have to check up to the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal one of the Blackbeard Pirates or My Era Begins. Oh no, you look up to the top 3 of your deck, reveal 1 Blackbeard Pirates card other than My Era Begins and add it to your hand, then trash the rest. So that fuels, not only thins your deck out, but it fuels the Jesus Burgess. And when you trigger it from the damage, you get to just do the effect, which is the top 3 check. Next, I play 4 copies of Finger Pistol. This is our main removal early to mid game, because it allows you to KO a character with cost 5 or less, and it mills 2 cards, which again which adds more fuel to the Jesus Burgess. And then I also play 3 copies of the Black Hole. This allows you to negate, if you're basically for 4 Dawn, if your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, negate the effect of one of your opponent's characters, and that during that turn, and then if that character is 4 costs or less, knock it out. So this gets over cards like Ace, the 5-drop Ace in the Whitebeard Pirates deck, because Ace can save itself if it were to be removed, but because the Black Hole negates it first, then KOs it, it gets around it. And then if you trigger it, you can discard this card and negate up to one of your opponent's characters or leaders during that turn, which is nice. Next, we play 2 copies of Liberation. What it does is, if the number of characters is at least 2 less than the number of your opponent's characters, KO or knock out up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 6 or less, and up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 4 or less. So it allows you to, in basically mid game, knock out 2 characters that are 6 or less cost and 4 or less cost. So it allows you to clean the board really nicely. And then lastly, we play 3 copies of Full Lead, or Hachinosu is the other way to call it in JP. What it does is it's basically your stage, so it's a field spell. If you're not familiar with, it's the equivalent to a field spell or a continuous spell. You get to tap this card, discard a card from your hand, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose one card with the Blackbeard Pirates trait, add it to your hand, and then place the rest to the bottom of your deck. So this is continuous like searching, as well as hand sculpting. So what this deck does best is not only does it board wipe, but it also hand sculpts pretty nicely. The disadvantage is to activate the leader effect, you're discarding cards, so you have to be very strategic when employing this ability. Sometimes you'll just in the early game, like, just let your opponent get their early play on play effects, because it's just advantage like searchers, and just discarding cards willy-nilly can whittle your hand down very much, that you can't guard properly and you can't like resource management properly. So you have to be very strategic with this deck. But overall, I do like the Blackbeard Pirates deck. I will be doing more videos like this in the near future. I might even do some One Piece gameplay if I can set aside time to record some, both locally. I'll try to record some remote matches in the future, but a lot of stuff I have a lot of stuff that I got to do before we do that. So for now, I'm just going to be profiling some decks that I've been kind of having in the chamber. So the next One Piece deck to expect is probably going to be either Purple Luffy, which is a deck that I built completely by just sheer coincidence. I wasn't planning on building it, but what the heck, I was like, might as well try it. Because even though, like, I will tell you, like, I don't like Luffy as a character, so that's one of the reasons why I reluctantly built it. It was nice. It's a nice deck. It's a fun mechanic, but it's not one of my favorite decks, honestly. I like the purple color, the strategies that purple has. I just don't like Luffy in general, and it's one of the cheapest purple decks at the time. The next one, other than that, I'll also revisit the Yamato list that I've been like constantly updating and like reviewing and looking over. Like, I'll show you what I have cooking right now in the very shortly. Also, I will be doing more like White Shorts videos and Pokemon videos and other discussion videos, so keep an eye on that. So other than that, I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, false crack that like button, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out and stay on point.